nursing was my second choice, but actually God had it all planned out. That was actually supposed to be my first choice. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I started my career in nursing as a bedside emerge nurse, but I knew that wasn't for me. You know, you get a lot of slack because if you're not at the bedside, you're not a real nurse. That was kind of
that stigma.
Yeah, and so getting into education is trying to break those stereotypes with students in particular. What I love about nursing is that you're not typecasted. There's so many different opportunities and room for growth for everyone. My faith journey has been so up and down. Now where I'm at, it's integrated into every aspect of my life, including careers. Before I had the mindset of, nope, this is my career path. This is where I'm going. These are my goals. Bam, bam, bam. One track mind. Now it's kind of, I'm led by my faith. Nursing education, you look at the classroom and there's diversity among the students. But then you look at the leadership and it's one color across the board. I think unity can still be achieved even though we're not all the same. That's what I want to see even in nursing education or nursing leadership. I think that starts with planting the seeds early, like letting people know that they have what it takes.
Welcome to the Nurse on Purpose podcast, where we challenge media stereotypes about nursing and spotlight the incredible and diverse roles nurses play in healthcare. I'm your host, Nello. Every week, I'll be joined by a nurse who is reshaping the narrative. From frontline care to leadership, education, innovation, and beyond. Our aim is to show the world that nursing is so much more than what we see on TV. Together, we'll explore how we can collaborate with media and other stakeholders to create authentic and inspiring portrayals of nurses. Let's begin the conversation and ignite change, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the Nurse on Purpose podcast. Today, we have an inspiring guest who is shaping the future of nursing education and empowering the next generation of nurses. Justine Bailey, aka Professor Just B, is a registered nurse, nursing educator, and entrepreneur based in Canada, with nearly 20 years of experience in education and leadership. After earning her Bachelor of Science in Nursing and Master of Nursing degrees from Toronto Metropolitan University, she built her clinical expertise in the fast-paced world of emergency nursing before stepping into entrepreneurship. In 2022, Justine launched Just Like That, I love that name, a business dedicated to empowering students and nurses to lead meaningful, purpose-driven careers. Through her work, she advocates for greater representation in leadership, career development, and nurse entrepreneurship, while also emphasizing the importance of faith in navigating the nursing journey. Beyond her professional work, Justine is a creative at heart. When she's not teaching or creating educational content, she's baking with her daughters, singing, dancing, and even indulging in a good thrift shopping spree. I love this so much. You are like my soul sister. I feel from the first day we met, I was like, this chick is my person.
That's my person.
Because not only are you a woman of faith, and faith really navigates, your path in your career transitions, it has also really guided your life in many other ways, raising two beautiful girls and just being the kind of leader that seeks to pour into the hearts of and into the minds of the next generation of nurses. So you're welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm so glad that I actually reached out to you. I slid into your DMs and
you know what? Forgot.
I was looking at your content and just the amazing things you were putting out, just how you really push the brand of nursing the way that it should be, and the representation that you have in terms of your guests, and really talking about not just careers in nursing, but like who they are behind the scenes, because the reality is we are people first. Yes, we wear the nursing hat, but we are a nurse, but we're also moms, dads, brothers, sisters, wives, husbands. And so that aspect of it too really
Yeah.
spoke to me from the content that
Yeah.
so thank you for having me. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
So glad that you're here. So glad to be able to talk about such a topic that's dear to my heart, which is entrepreneurship and faith, right? The power of faith. And so today we're going to be diving into an insightful conversation, guys, about nursing education, leadership diversity, career growth, and really the entrepreneurial mindset in nursing, right? And so let's get started because, we just said that you wear so many hats. You are mom, you're entrepreneur, you're a coach, you're a content creator, and you're a nurse. So let's begin with the nursing hat. How did you enter into the profession of nursing? What inspired you to become a nurse?
Interestingly enough, nursing was never on my radar. I have family members who are nurses. I am Filipino by background, so of course, I have Filipino titas.
Yeah.
But they, funny enough, didn't try and recruit me into the profession. I kind of landed on nursing just because I met the eligibility criteria. And my parents at the time were like, you know what, maybe you consider nursing. And I was actually, funny enough, I was actually playing varsity basketball, and I originally wanted to be a physiotherapist. And the school that I wanted to get into didn't have a physiotherapy program, so nursing was my second choice. But actually, God had it all planned out. That was actually supposed to be my first choice. So lo and behold, that's how I got into nursing, and it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, even though it was somewhat made for me, being 18, coming out of high school, and my parents being the ones that are like, go this way, go this way. But really found my passion and purpose through, after graduating nursing school, found out that I really loved education. I loved being with people, sharing my experiences, sharing the knowledge that I had, but then like being with people on their journey of growth and development. And that's why I think I continue to stay in education, because I like to see and witness people's development and evolving through their careers. And yes, I started my career in nursing as a bedside emerge nurse, but I knew that wasn't for me. And you get a lot of slack because if you're not at the bedside, you're not a real nurse. That was kind of
That stigma.
and that mantra, from kind of old school nurses. Well, if you're not at the bedside, you're not a real nurse. Like what?
Right.
Even going around and you say I'm a nurse. The second question is, so what hospital do you work in?
What hospital?
And I'm like, I haven't worked in a hospital in like 15 years.
Yeah.
So getting over that stigma and that kind of stereotype, really. And so getting into education is trying to break those stereotypes with students in particular. They're so clinically focused and driven. I have to work in the hospital. I have to. Well, no. Have you considered other non-traditional paths? What about public health? What about research?
Yeah.
What about policy?
Yeah.
What about education? And so
Right.
sometimes it's just opening their mind. And then when you do that, people are like, oh, okay, I can actually like move a little bit. I can breathe a little bit. And then you're not so fixed to this label, right?
Yeah.
This label. So, and that's an evolving thing for many of us, because we go into nursing with this one track mind. And then we realize, oh, this door can open. Oh, what if I just try this and dibble dabble in this a little bit? And then you realize the potential, your own potential, but the potential of what could be. And so that's what I love about nursing, is that you're not just fixed to this one. You're not typecasted,
Absolutely.
There's so many different opportunities and room for growth for everyone.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you touched on the clinical focus of students, right? And just you helping them to see beyond what they've been historically taught, right? And traditionally known for nursing at the bedside. Nursing at the bedside is important, but it's important that people know that if you're not a hospital person, like I don't consider myself a hospital person, whatever that term means. Basically, I'm not really the kind of person who loves the four walls of a hospital, even though I want to practice, right, nursing, that there is an opportunity to do things beyond that. And broadening their scope, because everyone says, oh, go and do your 3 years of med surg, get that under your belt. And while I see that there is value in that, because those skills are transferable to these
Absolutely.
other arenas where nurses can function, I don't think that that's necessarily the way to go.
Hmm.
And when we do that, we pigeonhole ourselves, because other professions, they graduate and they can do so many other things. And if nurses are always wanting to be at the bedside, or always told that they have to be at the bedside first, then the public will never see them in any other parts of our society besides the
That's
hospital. They
right.
won't be seen in leadership. They won't be seen in policy. They won't be seen in
That's
entrepreneurship.
right.
They just won't be seen.
That's right.
And so I think that message is so key for our students and our new grads to begin to understand. So as a professor, Professor Just B, first of all, I just love the name.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love how you kind of coined that from your full name, right?
Yeah.
Justine Bailey. So what is it that you teach in? Do you teach in like in a university program, or, right now, what do you
I've taught it all. I've taught in both university and college programs. Right now, my focus is at the college level, teaching practical nursing actually.
Mhm,
But also here in Canada, we have called personal support workers. So I've dabbled into that too. They're unregulated care providers, but still very
mhm,
similar in terms of some of the basic nursing knowledge that these PSWs get. So I've dabbled into, educating different types of, registered nurses, practical nurses, and then some of the unregulated care providers too that work hand in hand with
mm,
nurses. And so, funny enough, right now I've transitioned outside of college and university into, I guess, the for-profit organizations here in Canada.
yay,
There's not a lot of for-profit healthcare organizations here in Canada.
yeah,
But funny enough, this role it's called Nursing Innovation and Education Lead. So it's leading
nice,
education for nurses and using innovation to drive that. So it's
yeah,
just such an exciting time where I feel like I could leverage the skills that I have and transfer them, as you were talking about transferable skills, in a very non-traditional way. I
yeah,
like to think of,
yeah,
so I feel like I haven't really followed the traditional path of, nursing, even from the
yeah,
jump, but that's okay because
yeah,
all of our
yeah,
paths are different. And
yes,
sometimes for some of us, it means carving a new path so that others
mhm.
could follow.
Well, dare to dream, yeah,
Exactly,
that
right?
it's possible.
That's right. So,
Yeah,
exciting times for sure.
that's wonderful. And you have a business called Just Like That.
Just like that.
What is the business model? What is it that you provide, services or resources, and what motivated you to start your business?
Yeah, so just like that is all about empowering students and nurses, particularly of color, to really be empowered to make meaningful moves in their career and in their personal lives. When I first started this business, it really stemmed from the lack of representation that I noticed in academic circles and in leadership circles. As a person of color, I would walk into staff meetings and I'd be the only colored person there. I'd
Mm,
walk into rooms where decisions are being made and I'm the only colored person. And even on social media, if I go on YouTube and I look for other educators, there isn't a lot out there. Not a lot of people
mm,
that look like me or look like us. And so the
mm,
initial drive was to increase representation, but then
mhm,
to also really empower those students of color who are entering nursing schools. And yes, they have to go through all the criteria and evaluation, but we know, even though it's unspoken, students of color, BIPOC students, right? They go through various challenges and hurdles outside of the their school programs,
mhm,
various trials that their professors don't really know much about, or they can't talk to them about because there's no
mhm,
mm, the perspectives are different, I guess, right? And so I just wanted to be that person that they could reach out to or feel comfortable reaching out to because there's that relatability. That's how it initially started. And then I thought, what services, products could I deliver? At first, it was just free stuff, education, just free content on YouTube. And then it turned into helping them with writing, free APA assignment templates, free checklists that they could use for their assignments. And then it morphed into coaching services and career coaching, even just like personal coaching to help them with
Yeah.
where they're at in their careers. And so it's kind of morphed into, we talked about doors opening and opportunities
Yeah.
opening.
Yeah.
So this small little seed has now turned into like, it's starting to kind of extend its roots. So I still feel
Mm.
like it's in somewhat of a growing phase, although it initially
Mm.
started and was planted based out
Mm.
of, this initial need to help and empower and
Mm.
support. Now it's turning
Mm.
into morphing into something different, which
Mm.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around and figure out, okay, what is it? Okay, God, what is it that you want me to do? I know it was initially this, but if you're trying to pivot me into a different direction, like show me what that is, right? And so
Mm.
I feel like that's where I'm at right now. So I don't have all the clear answers in terms, this is what I provide, these are my services, because I feel like
Yeah.
it's evolving
It's
as
evolving.
I'm evolving too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Isn't that what seeds do, though? When they're planted in good soil, they have a way of growing
yeah,
and becoming bigger than where they started off.
yeah,
And I think the good soil is the heart that you had toward seeing greater representation in these seats of power and leadership. It's so interesting how God is interested in every detail of our lives,
hmm
even representation.
yeah,
Even something that you would think is mundane, like if I walk into a room, it would be great to see that there is a room full of all the
all
colors
the
of the
colors.
rainbow,
Yeah,
right? Even that, God is intentional about positioning us in places where we can begin to foster these changes and have these conversations. Nothing that you feel in your heart, especially leaning on God, is it's ordinary, it's too small. There
hmm
is purpose and there's a reason for it. And it's because God loves all
yeah,
people. Others will walk into the room and say, "Oh, I'm the only person of color. I must be so important." Instead, what you did was say, "I'm the only person of color. There's something abnormal about this and I want to see that change."
right.
That's amazing. That's an amazing testament to who you are. And so thank you for just being on that journey and knowing that when nurses reach out to you, you have something to offer them, especially of that diverse perspective.
hmm
Okay. So as we are already talking about faith, let's
How can we
we
not?
might as well go ahead and jump into that, right? Because I know faith is a big part of your life, a
Huge.
big part of your career. So how do you integrate your love for the Lord into your work as a nurse and as a professor?
It's been a journey, let me say, because even just my faith journey has been so up and down.
Mm.
As most people, most Christians, they have been, and so now where I'm at, it's integrated into every aspect of my life, including career. So whereas before it was before I had the mindset of, nope, this is my career path, this is where I'm going, these are my goals, bam, 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 one
Hmm.
track mind. Now it's kind of, I'm led by my faith. Like I don't always
Mm.
have that exact destination in mind. And I have to be okay with that. That's where faith comes in. You don't know exactly where you're going, but you know who's leading you, right?
Yeah,
So you
absolutely.
just are kind of, we say walk by faith, not by sight. So sometimes it feels like you're walking with your eyes closed, right? And then you just got to like stay
Mm.
close to him, knowing that wherever he
Mm.
takes you in your career, it's going to be okay, but
Mm.
your eyes are closed the whole time, right? So
Mm.
that's the analogy I have even through my career, because
Amazing.
I don't know where I'm going. I have some idea, but I don't have all those details. Even with this job that I just started a few weeks ago, funny enough, I wasn't looking for this. It wasn't like,
Mm.
oh, I need a job. Let me go on, all the job sites and start looking heavily. It really fell into my lap. And through my prayer time, it was more like I felt the Holy Spirit saying, no, this is the job for you. You read that job description, it was written for you to the detail. And even though I was like, oh, I don't think I'm ready for this. Am I gonna be able to do all the things that are required? It took that faith to say, okay, I don't feel like it's the right time, but I'm going to be obedient and step into this because you called me to it. Similar to, just how this business has started. It started with one thing. Now it's spreading its roots. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what it's going to lead to, but I know you've called me to it. So you're going to equip me to do the things that you want me to do, God. So I feel like my career journey is like, I feel like I have a blindfold over my eyes. And sometimes that's so counterculture because a lot of times culture in the world will say, no, you have to have a plan. You have to know where you're going. Boom, boom, boom. You have to have this, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. I can't even predict
You
what's
gotta
going to
have A to Z already figured out
Right.
before you even start.
Right. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a plan at all. You have an
Yeah,
idea and you have a plan and you bring it to
yeah,
him, right?
yeah,
Like, God, this is what I
yeah.
think like, this is my plan. Show me if
hmm
this is the right plan. Like,
Yeah.
lead me. So
Mm.
I think that surrender piece is what really drives me in my career. And I know it's not going to speak
Yeah.
to everyone, but there is a rest in that when I don't have to have it
Yeah.
all figured out.
Yeah.
I find a lot of rest in that because sometimes I'd wonder, am I doing enough? Am I progressing in my career at the pace that he or she is? And
Mm.
now it's like, no, they're doing their thing in their lane, and I know I'm
Yeah.
doing my thing in my lane, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot less pressure that
Yeah.
way too.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
It's the trap of comparison when in fact you need to just be obedient.
yeah.
The word you use is obedient, and you're like an Abraham, where he didn't quite know where he was going, but God was like, leave your comfort zone and go, and I will show you.
Yes,
This is after he left, right?
left
It's not like he knew
everything.
where he was, left everything that he knew, and then started walking.
Yeah,
So the obedience piece is very important. It's one thing to not know, but not even care, and not be diligent in the work that he's currently called you.
hmm,
And it's another thing to be following the path and be diligent in it, but not knowing the full picture because when you're diligent, he will blow your mind anyway. So, like,
exactly.
you can't even, there's not even a way for you to comprehend what the plan is, even if you tried. But your job is just to say yes and to keep on going.
Yeah, because he'll
And
blow
that's
our
what,
plans out the water. Like,
right, right. He says, bring your plans and I will establish them. But he also says that eyes have not seen and
ears
ears
have
have
not
not
heard.
heard what I've prepared. And he's the one who's able to do far exceedingly beyond and above all that we can ask,
Think or
think, or
imagine.
imagine. So whatever you can imagine, he can do far beyond.
Yes,
So how are you ever gonna know the end game, right? The end point, right? When you're working with a God who owns the
the
whole
whole world
universe.
and universe. Exactly, exactly. I love
So
that.
yeah, it's all about obedience. And I know that for you, you have a busy life. You have this new job now, you have your mom. There's so many things on your plate. And again, nursing can also be physically demanding, emotionally draining. How does your faith sustain you during these times? Are there any scriptures that you would lean on just to refocus, to reset, and to just maintain your peace overall?
As you were talking, the first thing that came to my mind as you were saying, work, nursing is busy, life is busy.
Yeah.
We idolize our jobs. We idolize
Yes.
them. We put them
Yeah.
above everything else, family,
Mm.
faith, our partners. And so I really am intentional, and I'm not perfect, but I really am intentional and not making my career my idol.
Identity.
And my
Yeah.
identity too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all know what that leads to. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
spoke about, like, above all, like, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul and mind, right? Do not have any other idols before me.
Yeah.
We're not worshiping idols and statues, but sometimes it's worshiping our jobs. And so I really am intentional about setting those boundaries, right? Because my identity is not in my work. My identity is first and foremost his daughter, right? The daughter of the most high. And so sometimes I really do need to put that into perspective in all areas of my life. But when I do feel burnt out and just kind of tired, I give myself that rest, because he calls us to rest. He did it too on the seventh day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So being okay with that rest is sometimes hard to do, especially as nurses. Most of us are like type A personalities, just go, 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 perfectionism all the time. Like, so giving myself that rest, and then just resting in him through just prayer, worship, being with family, having alone time.
Alone time.
It's hard
Oh
with
my
kids,
goodness.
girl,
That's
but
the best.
if it's in the shower, if it's before everyone else gets up in the morning, those times, those consecrated times that you set apart
Absolutely.
are so important. And so I've
So
learned
key.
how to prioritize that in my life too.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. So much value in time alone, in rest, in just recovery from the work, right? Making it work your idol can just burn you out. There's no good that can come out of it, right? Yeah, you may make more money, but at what expense? Your mental health is at stake, your emotional health, the relationships around you. So it's very important to prioritize rest. I just came back from vacation off.
Good
I
for
know we talked
you.
about it. And I was able to just recoup
Good for
and
you.
restore and just find my bearings again and
Yeah,
plan for the future, because you need time to re-strategize
absolutely.
and work on what you're already doing to make sure that it's continuing to be better. So, totally agree with you on that. So, thank you for sharing. Now, earlier you talked about the lack of representation, especially when it comes to Filipino nurses, right? In leadership specifically, because we know a lot of Filipino nurses are in healthcare, and they're probably like one of my favorite nurses.
Everyone says that.
First of all, let me just tell you, first of all the Filipino nurses I've worked with have like made me gain 25 pounds in like 2 weeks.
We love food,
Because
and we love
they bring
sharing.
food. There's such a community
Yeah.
feel to them. They're always so nice, always so competent. They teach with patience. Like I don't think I've ever met a Filipino nurse that I didn't just feel drawn to. So there's something there. You guys are learning like a happiness code that we're not learning here in America, in addition to nursing skills and science. But you spoke about that lack of representation. Why do you think the gap in representation exists, first of all? And how can we work toward this greater visibility and inclusion? And also, let me just ask, this is like a three-part question. Why is it important that there is representation? Because people will say it doesn't matter, like a nurse is a nurse. Like if the nurse is white or whatever color they are in the boardroom, why does it have to be several different shades?
Yeah.
Why can't it just be one? So that's a very important question that I feel like people might be on people's minds, but they may not quite understand why it is important that diversity exists, why the gap exists in the first place, and how we can work for greater visibility and inclusion. Sorry,
I
long-winded
know that's a
question there.
long-winded question. You may have to remind me and give me the step.
I will.
I think it exists. It's not just a one reason kind of answer. We know that there are systemic issues, barriers that have prevented not only Filipinos from, accessing those leadership roles, Black, brown. It's disappointing. It really is, because, in nursing education, you look at the classroom and there's diversity among the students. But then you look at the leadership and it's one color across the board. And why that happens, I don't know if I actually want to get into all of that in this. That may be a
That's
whole other
okay.
podcast, girl. Um,
And we can just talk about why, like how we can work together for that visibility
yeah.
and why it's important that there is, a diversity of colors in leadership.
Yeah, because I think it's so important because diversity, everyone can bring that different perspective, that different lens.
Hmm.
And so much can be accomplished when people are looking at things differently and addressing things in different ways.
Hmm.
Sometimes we
Hmm.
become conditioned to believe that because the way they do it or how they do it is the right way. But no, that's just the
Mm,
way that we've been taught. Doesn't mean it's
mm.
the right way. I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but
No,
it's
I think that what you're also alluding to is that one way doesn't necessarily represent all ways
yes,
or all perspectives,
yes,
right? It's like having only men in leadership and no women. They may not take into account breastfeeding breaks. They may not take into account having a daycare within the facility. Like those things may not come up, not because they don't want to do it, but just because it doesn't quite affect them as directly as it would
right.
affect a
And
woman,
it's not
right?
part of their
Um,
lived experience. So it wouldn't
right,
come to top
exactly.
of mind, right?
Yes, 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 yeah.
And so
So it's important that every perspective is
considered,
taken into account,
yes,
right? Okay.
yes. And together, then coming with those different perspectives, collaborating so that we can come to solutions and ways of doing things that sit with everyone and that everyone
Mm,
can relate to. And so I think unity can still be achieved even though we're not all the same. We can be
yeah,
united but
absolutely.
all different.
Yeah. Diverse and united.
Right, exactly. I
Hmm.
love that.
Diverse does not mean disunity.
Right,
It just means different, but
different.
you can still be united.
Exactly. And that's what I
Absolutely.
want to see even in nursing education or nursing
Yeah.
leadership, right? Is the
Yeah.
diversity as a strength where we're all united and working
Yeah.
towards the same goals of quality patient care, quality patient outcomes, quality
Hmm.
education, right? That
Hmm.
could still all be
Yeah.
achieved if there is diversity. Why there isn't diversity, that's a whole other podcast
Yeah.
situation. But
Yeah.
how can we create access?
Yeah.
I think that starts with planting the seeds early, like letting
Mm.
people know that they have what it takes. They
Absolutely.
have what it takes. You just have to
Yeah.
water it. You have to water
Yeah.
what's there and
Yeah.
nourish it and
Yeah.
support it as it grows. And
Hmm.
that's where I think,
Yeah.
someone like myself coming into those types of environments where I see those that potential,
Potential.
it's just
Yeah.
promoting that and watering it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
oftentimes, the I wasn't received that kind of nurturing and watering as a student, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I want to be able to do that for the
For
future
others.
generation. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a wonderful. And you pretty much answered my next two questions, really, which was what advice would you have for Filipino nurses or any nurses, or nursing students of color who aspire to positions of leadership but are not seeing representation? They're not seeing any models who look like them. And also how you can, as a professor, empower your students who come from like underrepresented backgrounds into positions of leadership and to see their full potential in nursing, because a lot of people of color may feel like they're imposters when it comes to those seats of power,
Hmm.
because they look the way they look. And so, like you said, being able to draw that potential out of them and say, hey, you're not a stranger here. You are just as qualified. You've gone through nursing school. Your lived experiences are enough to
Hmm.
qualify you to be in these positions or to find a mentor who can guide you into these positions of leadership.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. All right. We're going to kind of start wrapping up now because I know there's so much, but I want you to leave our listeners with a piece of advice, right? Because I know that You teach a lot on your Instagram. You have a great following, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm still aspiring to be like you.
Me as
And
well. Like I'm trying to aspire to be like you. Get
girl,
some
please.
content going and podcast content going. I'm learning a lot
And I
from
find
you
you so
too.
funny. I find you so funny on Instagram, but you do it in a lighthearted way and you still share these educational nuggets, interview tips for
Mm,
nurses. What are some nursing survival tips that you wish every student knew? And what are some interview tips that you wish new nurses knew?
okay.
If you can give me like two of each, survival tips and interview
For nursing
tips.
students or new grads?
Yeah, new grads, interview tips for new grads, and survival tips for students.
I start with so for nursing students, survival tips. Get yourself a mentor. Uh,
Mm,
I say that, I mean, we talk about mentorship all the time, but I think also it blurs a line between mentors and coaches. Like
okay.
the reason I say that is because that everyone's going through nursing school as far as the same courses, the same meeting the same competencies, but what's going to set you apart from the herd is having access to opportunities, and mentors can open that door and give you access.
Mm,
So you might have the same skill sets as student A, B, C, D, but how you're going to get ahead is open
very
doors,
different.
right?
Yeah.
And access
Mm-hmm.
to those open doors. That may take you 3 months longer if you didn't have
Mm-hmm.
that mentor. So
Mm-hmm.
I think having a mentor will fast track your career in terms of
Mm-hmm.
getting you where you need to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means just being involved. So get involved
Mm-hmm.
as a research assistant. Get involved in those
Yeah.
committees. Have
Mm.
relationships with your faculty. Like really
Mm-hmm.
build
Yeah.
those connections. Not only is that going to like fulfill your it's not only going to make the quality of your experience as a nursing student even more positive, but it's going to help you develop those core connections that could really be
Yeah.
instrumental in terms of
Mm.
furthering your
Pushing
career.
you.
Your career.
It's like professional nepotism.
Yes, exactly, girl. Call it what it is. Call it what it is.
Listen, I made a video about this and talked about on my YouTube channel
Yes,
about what nurses need to know. And everyone, I talked about first year, second year,
yeah,
third, and fourth. And in every one of those videos, I said, build
yes.
relationships with your professors. Listen, these professors they've seen it all. They know people
Hmm.
that know
Hmm.
people. I had a professor who really took a liking to me, and she and I just kept in touch. She wrote me the best recommendation letters for jobs
Yeah.
for my master's program. And it wasn't like a fake thing, like, oh, let me just do it
No,
so they can do
she
this for
believed in
me.
you.
She believed in me, and she just, I don't know, like everyone was like, oh, professor, this person, she just likes you. And I was like, I don't see it. But then I started to notice it, and she would check on me. How are you
Oh,
doing? What's going on? Are you moving forward with your
yeah,
master's? And I thoroughly appreciated that,
yeah,
and I see the value of it more now.
yeah,
So I tell every nurse, start from your freshman year. When you go on clinicals in third year, find you those nurses on the unit, get that
yeah.
connection started, because it's definitely a difference
Yeah,
maker.
similar to you, I had a mentor, yeah, who started out just like that as my faculty, and then brought
Mhm.
me on to her research project for year after year, and then was
Wow.
my thesis supervisor, and then was my
Wow.
reference for jobs, and I invited her to my wedding because we had
Oh,
developed that
see?
relationship.
Yeah.
Then I
That's
was her
beautiful.
colleague. So it started out as like a student, first year student to
Student.
like professional
Yeah.
colleague where
Yeah.
she's in my wedding. Not in my wedding, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
That's amazing.
yeah, build those relationships. One hundred
Okay,
percent.
so as new grads are preparing for job interviews, what do they need to know?
Oh man, there's so much competition out there, honestly. Like I'd hate to
Oh
be a
yeah.
new grad right now. There's so much competition, but also there's a lot of opportunity out there too because the
Mm-hmm.
job ads are there. I think nursing students have the leverage. They have the upper hand because there's so many different jobs that are available. It's how now do you actually get your foot in the door? honestly, again, you're coming in with your resume, having passed the NCLEX,
Yep.
you submit your application. What a lot of employers are actually looking for too is just fit. It's the fit
Yeah.
piece,
Personality.
personality and fit. And so,
Mm.
honest, my number one kind of recommendation is come as yourself, like be authentic,
Mm-hmm.
because you your resume is going to say one thing. It's going to get your foot into the door, into the interview room. But then when you can be yourself and have
Mm.
conversations and
Mm-hmm.
be who you are in your work
Mm-hmm.
environment, overall, you're going to be satisfied going to work every day because you don't feel like you have to put on this fake mask all the
Mm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And employers know what they're getting. So I
Yeah.
think there's an authenticity piece that doesn't get talked about a lot in, job interview tips. You have to
Mm.
follow this script and make sure you answer
Mm-hmm.
questions with the star format. But in the end, employers are looking for fit just as much as
Fit.
they are credentials and competencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my advice is, be your authentic self and
Absolutely.
pray for favor. Pray for the
Yeah.
right words to say,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's always done me well. Anytime I walk into interviews, is just be yourself. If they don't hire you, that's okay. One door closed is just pivoting you
Another
to
one.
the right door that's going to open.
That's
Um,
encouraging.
yeah,
And to know that you may not land that perfect job right
right.
away, that perfect job, you're well in quotes, because in your heart of hearts, you believe that that is a perfect job. However, you can start small, you can start with other
Yeah,
roles that may not be the one and just work your way up, right?
exactly.
So don't feel so discouraged when you haven't landed that perfect job right out of school. And then there are career coaches, nurse career coaches. I've interviewed some on my podcast that you can work with to kind of sharpen your interviewing skills, help you fix up your resume, and just overall prepare you for that new early career nurse life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's going to be a transition
Yep.
and you're not going to know everything right off the bat. So somebody who can help you and guide you even through that first year of being a
Yeah.
nurse while you transition from student to provider. Let's go into our media portrayal section, right? With our last about 5-10 minutes
Okay.
here. If you watch any shows, any medical dramas, or TV in general, for real,
Mm-hmm.
what is your thought and your opinion about the way nurses are portrayed in the media?
I think there's still the portrayal of, the physician servant, like, the nurse does what the physician says, and
Mm-hmm.
very still medically heavy, nurses in hospitals, nurses in
Yeah.
scrubs, or the sexy nurse, right? It always rubs me the wrong way, like, but anyways, so yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to do in terms of
Yeah.
TV shows, movies showing nurses in very non-traditional roles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just hope that, more nursing voices can be heard in the
Awesome.
scripting phases and in the production and all of that,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
our image is changed overall, right, in the media.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's the whole heart of Nurse on
that's
Purpose.
right.
So let's play our game.
Okay.
Girl, you ready for the
Okay, let's
game?
do it.
Okay, shake your shoulders if you're ready. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Gonna shake my jar around. I know you already know how this game goes, so I'll pick a category and you, Professor Just B, will
Okay.
come up with a storyline that portrays a nurse character.
All
Okay?
right.
You ready for
Yeah.
this? All right, let's see. Whoa, I've never had this before. So your category is children's book.
Okay. Okay.
You have to, girl. So
I
this is
could do this.
appropriate.
I could do this.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
You got it.
can I like sprinkle in a little bit of like truth into the
Girl,
children's
sprinkle
story?
all the things that you want to sprinkle on.
Okay. So you have this story about a mom, and she's a superhero, okay? But she's also a
Mm,
nurse. So these two kids, they
it's
know,
anonymous.
okay. Anonymous! Okay, anonymous. These two kids, they know their mom as mom, the one who picks
Hmm.
them up from the school
Hmm.
bus and takes them to they're swimming and their dance class. And one day they asked their mom, what do you actually do when we're at school?
Mm.
And the
Mm.
mom answers, well, I'm a nurse. Right? Oh, so you make people feel better? And she's something like that, something like that. Fast forward, there's a big rainstorm or snowstorm. Let's say we're in Canada,
Mm.
snowstorm. And the lights go out and the girls are really scared. Mom comes in, she's helping them feel more settled in bed. She's comforting them, making them feel good again because they're scared. The next day, because it's a snowstorm, school's canceled. And
Mm.
the girls now are taken to mom's work. So they actually
Mm.
see what mom does. So they're thinking they're going into a hospital, but mom brings them into a school. They realize mom is actually a nurse and teacher. So they sit at
Mm.
the back of the classroom or the lab and they watch their mom work with all these students, teaching them how to take blood pressures and how to do, auscultations and all these different nursing skills. And they see their mom in action with all these students. And on the car ride home, they're like, Mom, is that really what you do? Do you like help people make bodies feel better? And their mom answers, no, it's not just about helping people feel better. It's about listening and sharing your knowledge and, um, you know, helping people feel seen and heard,
Mhm.
just
Mm.
like Jesus did, right?
Oh, I
And
love it.
the next day, the kids go to school, and their teacher asks, "So what did you do on the snow day?" And they said, "Oh, well, we went to Mom's work. She's a nurse." And the teacher says, "Oh, so what hospital does she work for?" And they said, "No, she doesn't work for a hospital. She works for Jesus."
I love it. She works
She
for
works for
Jesus.
Jesus. So, yeah, that's my
I
story.
love
That's my story. I
I
don't know if that
love
was a bit corny, but it
it.
kind of
Oh, this is
mixed in a little
sweet.
bit of, my own life and
I love
also
it.
just the stereotype of nurses, right? That's out there. So,
Yeah. So
yeah,
Mama's a school nurse and she is a superhero. So nurse is synonymous with
there
superhero.
you
So
go.
same thing. One and the same.
That's right. All right. That's right. That's right.
Thank you for sharing that. That was so sweet. I might go tell my daughter that story. All right. So, Justine, where can people find you to connect with you and follow along with your journey?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at just like that IG. You can check out my website at itsjustlikeThat.ca. I'm on YouTube as well at just like that. TikTok. Happy to connect. Slide into my DMs. Send me an email. I am all
Nice.
open ears. Yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing. This has been a long time coming. So glad to have just featured you as my guest today. Thank you for sharing your story and for letting us know that, nursing can also be ministry.
Hmm.
And thank you for following your path. You're also showing others what is possible and allowing them to dream beyond the bedside. So thanks.
Thank
Thanks guys for
you.
watching. Thanks for listening. And I hope you guys tune in next time. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging with me till the end. I hope you gained some valuable insight into the world of nursing. If today's episode inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear about the amazing work nurses are doing. Let's keep breaking stereotypes and reshaping the narrative together. I'll see you next time.